Yeah, I'm having a work study session today, so let's just take a look at what you got here. Just go ahead and go through the packet, yes? One piece at a time, we'll talk about it.
All right, so since our last meeting, I have been kind of looking into research options of what data we could purchase and things like that. So in my findings, this first one here that has this visitor intelligence dashboard, that's from a company called Media One. And so they kind of gave me a really good insight into kind of how they pull data. They pull credit card data and from your cell phone. And typically they can only pull about 10% of the data. So you're not going to get a full picture of everything, but you can kind of see where some people are coming from, et cetera, et cetera. So this company only provides you with that 10% that they are able to get. So if you go, this one I think was about $30,000 to $35,000 for a year, and they can also go back up to 2 years, I believe.
How much was it?
30 to 35. This next one, so other companies, kind of how they explain it to me is what they're doing is they're taking that 10% and then they're making an estimate based on that data that they collected. So it's kind of a picture, but it's a very blown up picture. So the first company was they were really instrumental in saying to me that like they're going to give us that 10%. They're not going to, take that and multiply it and us take their numbers and assume that that's what everybody else came from or how many people were there. They give you exactly what they pulled, which I liked because it's a little bit more honest and like it is what it is.
They don't manipulate any of that. It's
Yeah.
just plain old.
Yeah, it's exactly
Okay.
what they pull. They just don't manipulate it and make their estimates and things like that. This is Placer AI, so they did a report for us for the USSSA tournament. So this kind of shows you where they go after the tournament. You could start to see at the park like how many people were there. You could see it start to go down as teams lose and go home, which is to be expected. But it shows you how many people were in the park, where they went after the park, their salaries, their education levels, all sorts of things.
Yeah, it's amazing how much
I
they
don't really want to
know
know
us.
that they know that.
Yeah, I know. It's a little scary.
So, but that was something that they had given to me a while back. Since July 2023. So it kind of shows you where everybody's coming from a lot. They did like this map here that kind of shows where people from my tournament were coming from. It's very interesting, but this is one of those companies that does manipulate it and takes what they collected and then makes their, they do what they do, the research people.
Extrapolate.
Yes, for sure. So and this one is about $48,000 to $50,000 a year. It's insane.
Do they do this per event or do they just capture data all year long?
So we could get reports pulled for specific events and things like that. I think overall it would become costly. I think pulling it all, but for the whole year it would be 30 and 35 for the other, 30 and 35, and then 48 to 50 for this.
So this is not, so you could say, okay, hey, we're having a big event this weekend, so we really want to focus on this weekend. So we want to report for X date to X date.
Right.
But what is it? So what do they do all the other times?
So they have it. These will both basically be a dashboard that I can select certain dates within everything.
So you could do one a month
Yeah,
in that price period.
Yeah, they're gonna,
Okay.
and they will do a monthly report for us. But if we were like, hey, USSSA was here for a week, I could go in and change those dates. And
Or
say,
Strawberry Festival or
Right.
whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would have access to that. You can go on, log on. Look
Yes.
around.
So that's what we want, a
What is
specific
the-
event. not-
Yeah, when you met with them, did they tell you like what are all the data sources that they're using to aggregate?
For which
The
one?
Placer AI.
So I think both of them are collecting from your cell phone and credit card data. I think those are like the top. That's who mostly everyone is. I personally lean more towards the Media One because I've worked with them. We've worked with them before, and they do a really great job, and they're very honest about reports, if it's not reaching something, they don't care, they're gonna give you that report anyway. That's kind of how, I feel like when I was talking to these people, I think that they kind of like want to blow your mind a little bit, to be like, wow, wow, wow. But I like more honesty, just to know the real data.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so when you talk to them, did you say like, did they tell you like what's out of the box for that versus what's like an upgrade? Because typically when you're talking to folks like this, they're gonna tell you like, they're gonna show you everything you want to see,
Yeah.
but they're not gonna actually say, oh, well, this is an upcharge, this is how much it's gonna be.
Yeah, no,
Like, were they pretty clear on what that is?
He showed me somebody's dashboard and like, this is exactly what would be included, and you could buy a couple years past as well. I think 35 was like going 2 years back, I think, something like that.
Mhm.
So it was very clear that this was the pricing. They did have another package, and it was very similar to what the state does for us, like that snapshot. It was very similar to that, and I was like, since we already have that, I don't think that that's necessary. But
Is
that's
it free from the state?
the snapshot that we get in
Yeah,
like September,
yeah.
that's free from the state.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The state is also, I just went to a conference earlier this month, and there's a company that does all this as well called Zartico, and they're gonna offer their partners like a Zartico Lite, so it's not gonna be the most amazing thing ever, but I was interested to see what that provides us before we go in and buy some data or anything, because it might be exactly what we need. It might be, we just don't know what that looks like quite yet, because they just told us that that's something that they're starting to work on right now.
Yeah, so the state uses a couple different things, right? So I talked to Josh Gibson for a couple times over the past month, just about some certain things, and they use a company called Tourism Economics, who I contacted, and they gave me a demo of their solution, and they're about $25,000 to $30,000 a year for a similar solution to what you're getting here.
Right.
But they use Tourism Economics already for some of these other reports, and what Josh said is he's going to look into what other access he can provide to you and to other counties.
Yeah.
So you don't have to pay for information that they're already getting.
Right, exactly.
Because those monthly reports are fine, but they're not they're not incredibly stellar. And with like tourism economics, really with anything, the cost is what data you're getting in there. So if you're only getting Sumner County data, it's X dollars. But then if you need to see, well, how does that compare to other counties? Then now all of a sudden, even with these guys, you're going to be adding additional dollars in there. Whereas like if we can leverage more of what the state is already paying for, that can give us a good idea of what's happening in the county. Because if we see what's going on in Sumner County, but we don't have anything to compare it to, like Davidson County or Wilson County, like we don't know where to spend money. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, what's bringing people to Davidson County? What's bringing people to Wilson County? And does that even align with this? Or hey, you know what? Most people that are coming to Tennessee, like 42% of people that are visiting Tennessee, they're coming for some type of concert. What concert venues do we have in Sumner County, and why aren't we leveraging them? Or what brand new school did we spend an excessive amount of money on that we could be leveraging for activities or whatever? Those are some things we just need to figure out.
Yeah, and I think another important part of data could be, if there's a big concert or a big, whatever it is in Nashville, there's always something. We can target their customers to get them to have an affordable rate, because that's part of a big asset there is, being so close to Nashville, is we can get those people to come and stay here. So I think that being able to compare and kind of see what other people are getting would be extremely helpful. So I know that they just hired a new research guy at the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development. So it seems like they're starting to put a little bit more money and more effort into research. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But they also work with Arrivalist, and I have talked to Arrivalist as the guy who owns Arrivalist, I think, is from Hendersonville. So he gave me a personal call and told me that. So I thought that was very nice. But you never know. But I just wanted to give you guys those updates. I'm not moving forward with anything right now.
Sure. Well, I think in order to determine where we want to spend money on data and analytics, we need two things. One, we need to know like what data do we want to get that's actually going to be actionable? And number two, do we even have a data analyst on the team that can even do anything to help you? Or like, I don't know what the skill set is of everybody on your team. So do you even have that skill set that exists today, or do we need to reevaluate the types of skills that we have on the team? So if you can't do anything with data, then it's just a packet that's just sitting there doing nothing, and you're not going to be able to use it to drive any change or value.
Yeah, and I did talk to STR. I know that the report is not the same as the one that I had sent you all in December. They've started a new process or something like that. Just with everything we've had going on, I haven't had time to do a demo, but I am scheduled to do that as well. For me, I think the STR doesn't paint a full picture of everything because it doesn't include Airbnbs, it doesn't include, RV, I think they do an RV park, and, things like that, which do add up, and so it's just what can we find that does everything for us? That's kind of.
Yeah, it only shows what hotels people are staying in.
Yeah.
So it's adding some value, but not.
Yeah, and not every hotel, because they're paying STR to get their competitiveness. That's why some hotels aren't a part of it at all, because they don't either want to or can't afford it. So it's kind of hard to gauge that right now. So I'm just going to keep looking. I've been asking partners from my marketing college, who do you guys get research from? Just kind of going through that with them as well. But definitely looking to work with the state more to see what they can do for us, because I think that there's a lot more that they can do for us. I think they just need the time and the team and the resources.
Yeah, and that's what Josh did say. He's like, we're already paying for stuff, so let's just use what we've got, and then you can supplement with whatever you need to. But tourism economics is one that I think is pretty solid. The tool they use is super easy to use. It's called Symphony, and they use that at the state as well. I also had a demo with Zardico. Their tools are pretty solid as well. I didn't get pricing from them yet. So
Is that with an X or a Z?
Z-A-R-T-I-C-O.
Yeah.
Oh, T-I-C-O. Okay.
Yes, I actually met somebody from tourism economics back at a conference a while back, and
Who was that?
Zeke Coleman.
Yeah, I know Zeke. Yep. I've talked to him several times.
Yeah, I met him once, so I'd be happy to.
Yeah, he's the one that gave me the pricing on.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, so I'll be happy to reach out to him and talk to him and see what we can figure out. Anyways, that's what I've got for research. And then,
Do you have a goal, like a timeline that you want to actually, when would you like to have this up and running for you?
within the first quarter of the next fiscal year, I think would be ideal. That gives us
July, September.
Yeah, July, September, somewhere.
This year?
Yes.
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 So this will be part of your budget?
Yes, this upcoming.
Okay.
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
So let's move on to sponsorship.
So just so you know, right, that means we've got to make a decision by March
Yes.
on who you're going to go with, because it takes 3 months for them to get everything up and running in the system.
Yeah. I'd at least, I would like to start that process at least at the beginning of the fiscal year, and kind of, we can.
Well, you need to build it in your budget, certainly, because that's due March 1st.
So my recommendation is we look at things that are in the budget that are not adding as much value as we can get from having solid data, and scrap some of those things so that we can pay for getting good data set.
Yes.
Otherwise, we're just spending money on we don't know what.
Yeah. Well, and so for me, whenever I got hired in May, I had to turn around a budget within a month. So it would have been reckless for me to have ripped that budget apart and, gone away from everything Barry did. That would have been within a month. That would have been crazy. So this year was definitely a learning year of figuring out, okay, we've got too much here. We don't have enough here. So I have a lot of notes and things for this upcoming budget that I'm like, I know where we can move quite a bit of things around. So that was kind of where I was at on that. But we'll move on to sponsorship. So I attached our sponsorship application that we've used for very, very many years. And within this, it kind of asks what their event budget is. It asks their marketing budget, things like that. How many attendees they've had in the past, how they're advertising, their plan for marketing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
This is a dumb question. Are we charging like a processing fee for this when they send it to us? We should. I mean,
As a nonprofit though, should we?
doesn't matter. I mean,
You, how did you pay for this?
That's the nonprofits
Yeah,
asking for sponsorships, so.
yeah. I don't know, because, I don't know, it gets tricky, because when we're seeking something and we have them fill this out, where it's, because
a
there's
nonprofit doesn't mean that you're not charging money for things. It means
Yeah.
that you can charge money for things.
I just,
And this helps pay for your people.
yeah.
I don't think, a processing fee would determine if we want a bigger product.
No, but,
On application fee or something.
yeah, no, I don't think that would hurt anything, that's not something.
How long does it take to process one? Do y'all just read it and say, well, what do you think? Or is
Well,
it,
that's kind of the
or is there
whole plan.
research that's
That's-
done on it to make sure they're honest and?
Yeah, so we make
Mhm.
sure that, most of the time, who's filling this out is people who have already received money from us in the past.
I mean, how much research would you have to do in order to?
Just like
But-
verify.
For like, would it be taking 1 hour, 2 hours? or
Yeah.
time?
So that's where it becomes tricky and why I have asked that we have board decisions on this, because it is very hard with not having any research and then just having to make this decision by myself is really not, it's not fun. It's hard. It's very challenging. So a lot of the time who's filling these out, I'm seeing their event, they're posting about it, they're getting word about it. Like a lot of the time I'll hear from like the parks, I go to like, if they're having an event at Hendersonville Parks, then I'll call, Andy Gilly and be like, hey, have you heard of this? What do you think of this person? Kind of going on like a referral basis, just like, hey, does this seem legit? Have you talked with this person? What's your experience been like working with them? So that's something that I try to do with each of these events. But it just becomes really difficult not to have, especially when it's a new event that doesn't have any previous events at all. It's very hard to go in there and, say whatever. Like I had one event who was like, we're contacting Good Neighbor Festivals. I'm like, okay, that's a huge event planning company that they're hiring. So, then it's like, okay, this is legit because they're paying this huge fee to bring in that. So obviously they're doing something. So, but yeah. But this is our sponsorship application, and I've wanted to change it, and then I sit down and then I'm like, I don't even know where to start. And just to be honest with you, so feedback on this would be really great, just because there's a lot of, with 9 people, I think that we could all have a bunch of different ideas, because sometimes it's just hard.
When do you want
I
to?
think with every data element on here, you have to decide what are you doing with it,
Right.
right? If the answer is we don't do anything with it at all, then you got to question why is it on there. Second thing is, for each of these items on here, are you getting them into a format where you can actually trend any of this stuff out? Because this is additional data where you can leverage it for
So
you know
we
the
kind
future.
of keep them all together, and we keep them in she keeps them, I keep them, we keep them documented and things like that. But
I did have this online where they can fill it out online and sign it or submit it.
so actually, we're working on creating a partner page right now where they can figure out how to put stuff on our website and how to.
Yeah.
We've created a PR calendar so that people can stay up with that and find our documents and sponsorship applications and things like that. So we are working on ways for that to be more accessible to people. But I just would really like this to be, this whole sponsorship thing just needs to be reimagined because it's just very
Have you contacted other counties
Just
to
thinking
see
that
what
same thing.
they're,
Yeah.
and have them mail theirs to you, or look at theirs online so you don't have to reinvent the wheel?
Yeah, so I just talked to Robertson County, and they have like a time frame that you have to have it in for each fiscal year, you know, like whether it's like the first 3 months and then, but that also gets tricky too, because it's like, what if something comes and it's great, and it's like, well, you missed the deadline. Like, how strict is that deadline depending on, because we want people to come, we want events to be here, so that's where it gets tricky, but I think, like, being gracious within the first couple of years of like, you know, okay, you didn't know that, that's okay, you know, especially fishing guys, because they'll call me.
Have they shared their form with you? Do they have a form, a sponsorship? The Robertson County, the other
Yeah.
Yeah,
counties.
thank you. Yeah, I'd be happy to reach out to.
And
ask.
Wilson County too, because I think Wilson County just has a tourism department, but like Montgomery County and Davidson County, theirs is a bureau.
Yeah,
Okay, they have a convention and visitors bureau, which is a different, very different from what this is.
right. So, yeah, I'd be happy to find other people's. That's kind of something I've been doing a bunch of other stuff, but you know, I've been meaning to like get on that with everybody.
Right. You don't want it to make it a pain in the rear for people to do. You want it to be easy, but you also need to have enough information so you can say,
Yeah.
well, we've got a limited amount of dollars. We don't really want to spend the money on this.
Right. And my thing is like, I just.
So they're
whenever I
ultimately
see
just
it-
asking for money, right?
Yeah.
Not just approval to
Yeah,
use
exactly.
a facility.
Exactly. And that's kind of why I think having more board decisions would be better, just advice and recommendations, just because it just becomes really challenging when it's just like, it's very subjective. And
Yeah. Well, let me ask this: how far in advance do people get this before you make a decision? Like, are they saying, "Hey, I'm having this event tomorrow. Can I
no,
get some money?"
usually it's like 3 to 6 months. You know, it's within the fiscal year,
Mhm.
but I've never had one that was like a month turnaround.
Yeah, I would just say, you know, maybe one of the things you want to put on here clearly is say, look, it will take 30 days to process your application for approval, or 60 days.
60 or 90 days is probably
Mhm.
better.
Yeah, so if you're asking for
90 days before your
sponsorship,
events.
it will take 90 days for approval, which means that you can bring all those approvals to the board meeting,
Yeah.
running it every quarter, and we can just review them.
And we need to look at having, I think, an amount. So you don't have to bring everything
That's
to
what I was
us.
gonna say too.
Like, because I know that was taken away when I was looking at the minutes.
Yeah.
Barry got to where he didn't have to have,
Yeah, 'cause
approval
sometimes
for
something super
sponsorships.
small, like, you know, someone will ask me for like $500. Like that's not really something that I think is a huge discussion there. It's
Well,
more when it gets
yeah.
into like the $5,000 to
Unless that turns
$10,000
into-
or.
unless it turns into-
Yeah, I mean,
A lot
you can
of
get $500 to death, but
Yeah.
as well, right? So maybe, I mean, at $500, I think is whatever the threshold is. I'm sure it'll be fine as long as there's
Yeah.
another mechanism to say, oh well, dang, dude, we just spent, we just had 20 requests for $500 and we approved them all, and now all of a sudden we're over
Most of my
budget.
people are asking for significantly more than $500.
What's significantly more?
Like a number or like how many people are asking?
No, how much
Why
more,
not?
how many
Like a
more
number.
people are at, like, what is significantly more than $500? What do you think is a large amount for a sponsorship?
I-
2,000, 1,000,
I think when they
1,500?
start asking 5,000 plus is whenever I'm like, I'm not sure.
Would it make sense just to follow kind of the financial guidelines where she's allowed to approve a check up to $4,000? Like
That's what I was
approve the,
Yeah.
that makes sense. She doesn't approve all of them, for sure, you know, lots of them get denied.
Yeah. Yeah, but maybe since like a $4,000 and up is where we come in for board approval.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking.
Or 2,500, or anything over 2,500.
I'm just looking at these sponsorships snapshots, right? So Irish Festival.
Irish Festival is in the sponsorship.
13 grand, then 21 grand, then.
But it's something we sponsor.
We don't spon-
8,900.
It goes into sponsorships, but we plan that entire. Yeah, so we're writing checks for porta potties and, all sorts of things. I mean, that's a little bit different, and that's the same with the Isaac's concert, that's something that we've worked in collaboration with, Petersville Parks. So that's something that we kind of split and go 50-50 on.
And the same for Tennessee Summer.
Tennessee Songwriters Week.
Okay. Yes, I think we just gotta clarify, sort those ones out. I think that's fine, right? But there's some of these other ones here, like Pig Fest. What's that?
The fest is in Bruceville. It's actually it's getting super successful. It's in October. They have a concert, and then the next day they have barbecue grill off and all sorts of things, and people love it.
Sponsored by Henderson Parks. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's in the parks.
Do we know if that brings in a lot of people from out of town? I'm sure with the barbecue cook-off, they're probably all mostly from out of town, but.
Yeah, I'm sure that it does. It'd be nice if I had it.
I thought you said that there were a few that they said that were from Kentucky and Illinois
Yeah, like the Kentucky Headhunters were there, or
tourists,
Tourists.
people
Yeah.
that came and
yeah,
to the festival.
Oh, yeah, because these bands have bands that will come from all over the place.
yeah. Well, the Kentucky Headhunters were there, and they brought in crowds from Kentucky. They brought in all sorts of things, So, it's just hard to say whenever I can't pull a report on it. It's just hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
We could go out there and do license plates. Count those.
We've done it.
We've done it before. We pretty much we do that when we were on the golf carts in the park. We would just drive around and count.
The license plates.
License
It's a good way of
license
looking at
plates,
it. Tell them.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I mean, just probably an easier way to do that. Like honestly, even just like setting up a QR code to a Survey Monkey, and they scan the QR code and say, hey, as part of your check-in, just click on this and tell us where you're from. Done.
Yeah.
How many people in your party? Where are you from? How long are you gonna be here?
Yeah.
Submit. Then you're automatically collecting data, and it costs you almost nothing.
yeah, we had a fishing tournament. We had served them pizza, and every single person who walked by, where are you staying? Where are you staying? They were all staying here and went on an Airbnb.
That's great.
Yeah, that's with the Highland Festival. I was at the booth, same thing, asking everybody where they were from.
Yeah.
Where they were staying.
But
So this is what's coming up. This is the
this is current.
23-24.
Yes, this is current. Sorry, I forgot.
No, that's okay.
It's like Mont Haven Wholesome Redemption.
So that was something that Barry had committed to with Mont Haven. I think originally Barry had wanted to bring that exhibit into our office, but we don't have like the facilities, and like you have to keep certain temperatures and certain,
What's Wholesome Redemption?
It's Johnny Cash.
Okay, I thought it
Yeah,
probably
it's
must be.
photography.
Oh, okay.
So that's going to be on April. Well, they're opening in April, so they're doing an event on April 6th and bringing in the guy to speak about going.
I
around
think
the
their
church.
operating budget is several $1 million now, and they come to us for $5,000.
Yeah.
So those are also things to consider when we're looking at sponsorships. So when I compare Mont Haven to this letter from Jamie Clary about the arts festival that they're hosting in May, I don't know what arts festival that is. I'm assuming it's with their arts council, and their arts council is just coming back up from the ashes, because I used to be on the arts council when it was at Mont Haven, before Mont Haven was the MAC, and we were poor.
Yeah.
We were poor, and I think this arts council is probably much more in need of
Yeah.
at least the 5,000,
Yeah.
probably not the 10, because they have their own board and they have their own ways to raise money. But I think you need to consider part of your sponsorship is what is their, if we've got charities asking us to give them money for events, we need to consider their operating budget.
That's a conversation that we have quite a bit.
And is that on this form? Do they,
We asked for the event budget or,
their operating budget, we want their yearly
No.
operating budget. Because that is easily
Yeah.
found when you go to the Secretary of State's website.
yeah. No, we know that, that's a conversation that we had quite a bit. That was just something that Barry had committed to, so,
Sounds like he wanted to bring it to town and
It was a 2-year
Yeah.
waiting list.
they would do it if he paid him $5,000, yeah.
yeah. So,
Actually, that's not the case. He actually went to Martin to see the exhibit, and he wanted to bring it to Sumner County because of the Johnny Cash
yeah.
experience.
Yeah, which we have a lot of ideas for that weekend because they're a lot of historic sites are getting together and they're doing a Why Old Places Matter on that Sunday, and then that's historic sites kickoff weekend. So we're working on a marketing strategy for a historic weekend in Sumner County on the first weekend of April. So we're excited about that. And something I also want to mention is when I was at marketing college, something I learned was instead of giving these events money, we are the tourism professionals and we do the tourism marketing. So for me, I feel like I would want to give a smaller sponsorship and say, but I'm going to do this marketing for you to get outside visitors. And that's something for me that's stuck in my brain is like, my job is tourism marketing. We're a destination marketing organization. So, you know, as much as I'd love to pay for your stage, my goal and my initiative is to get people to spend the night here. So why don't we put more dollars behind event marketing?
Yeah, so that's where you want to, that's something you would want to change on this form. Then you say,
Yeah.
what type of sponsorship are you, these are the types of sponsorships we're offering, right?
Right.
And then the tourism department becomes less a charity.
Yes,
And
exactly.
more
Exactly.
a work, an executive function.
Exactly,
Yep.
because as much as I'd love for you to have your big old stage, I don't care if people aren't spending the night. So that's kind of been how I've wanted to shift this a little bit is like, you know, I'll give you $2,000 and then I'll spend $2,000 on marketing and promoting outside of the county. You can do yours inside the county because most of the people are doing their advertising within the county. So I'm the tourism professional in the marketing world, so I can go and take that and now I can place that other place.
And many of these events don't have the connections or the know-how to market their event anyway.
No.
So to have tourism to do that for them
And they
is
don't-
huge.
And a lot of the time they don't realize how much of an asset that could be, but it's like, let's say 10,000 people in Alabama see this ad and then 5,000 of them come. Wow. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I would really like to balance some of this out and saying, yeah, you know, I'll give you this, but I'm also going to spend this in marketing. So then we can pour more into our marketing budget rather than our sponsorship.
Right. But this is another scenario where you might want to consider charging an application fee because then you have someone on your team contact them and say, oh, good job, you're advertising in the newspaper for $1,200. What newspapers are you advertising in? What do you expect your reach rate to be? Like, why are you spending more on advertising in the newspaper than you are spending on social media?
And your application,
Exactly.
and your
Right.
application fee could just be 2 times the billable hour on that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be excessive.
Yeah.
Just enough to say, well, it'll
Because of that
justify.
employee's time in the office.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're not trying
Plus
to
a
make a
percent.
profit.
I can't remember how to bill, but I mean, you would do it 2 times the, I'm sure there's a rate. You could Google the rate.
Mhm.
When Ryan Baker took over the museum
Yeah.
and they had a museum tour, museums, cemetery tours have been kind of falling off over the years. He started putting it on Facebook. And that year they had the biggest attendance they'd had in years, just from a couple of dozen $25 ads on Facebook. He spent like less than $500.
Yeah, I
And they
agree.
brought in thousands of people.
Because if you have someone who knows how to use those things, then it can go super far. Whereas if they're trying to do, a lot of these places are trying to do it themselves, and it's like, okay.
Right.
Like I'll see their ad and I'm like, oh my word.
Because they get to Tennessee and they don't understand that 90% of the people who are coming to their event don't get to Tennessee.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would like to back it up with marketing because as much as I want you to get this fancy band, I also really need people to come from out of town.
Exactly. Because if you're paying money for a band that nobody's coming to see either, you care about that, right?
Exactly. And so that was a big key point that I took away from marketing college. I feel like I beat it into her head. I'm like, I want to give them marketing dollars. I don't care about paying for your stage.
So maybe that's another thing you can change here under this media section. You have a media section that says the media you're paying for, and then list other media that you're not paying for, and then what your expected
Yeah.
reach rate is with each of those media types. Because then if they're saying, oh, I'm going to spend $7,000 on television advertisements for Strawberry Festival, where are they spending that?
See,
Is that on
was
YouTube?
one-
Is it,
That's one lately that
is
that
it where
I wanted
people
to
are actually
bring.
watching television?
That's something I wanted to bring to you guys is Portland.
Why did they ask for an extra 50%? You gave them $10,000 last year. Why'd they ask for $15,000 this year?
I don't know. Originally, in an email, she asked me if I wanted to be this main sponsor for $10,000, and then I told her, I said, you need to fill this out, and then she sent me this for $15,000.
Did she show you
I mean-
how much? Did you,
She's saying
Short submission.
she's
Did you-
projecting.
did you ask her
50,000.
for their income over the last 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, she, I probably didn't print that attachment, but I did have it. She sent me a couple of things, and then sometimes my email loses attachments.
And you did not get a raise in your budget last year, correct?
We got a raise in our budget, but it was technically lower because of the hospital fund. We had gotten money from the hospital fund.
All we did was give you what you had had the year before.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's on the previous year.
So what
because-
I'm saying is
It was
she's,
small.
what are you having to give away to give her more in your budget? If you give her more.
I would say
Or
no.
don't.
Then don't.
Say no.
You would
I'm
say
not.
no, we're not doing that because
Yeah.
look, she's projecting $50,000, 30%
Oh, is it in our
outside the
packet?
local area.
Oh, it's in our package.
Last
Oh,
year,
I'm sorry.
last year there was $50,000 or 50,000 people. The year before, 50,000 people. How much did you give her the year before?
I think it was probably about the same, 8 to 9. I would say 8 to 10.
So every year she's asking you for more money and it's bringing in the exact same amount of people?
Yeah.
Oh, that's foolish.
No, this is one that I really struggle with.
Looks like she's copying the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And
I hate to be blunt about it.
Yeah.
I had done, this is one I had pulled that report for whenever I was getting whenever I was doing a call with placers, they pulled one on this, which we know might not be 100% accurate, but it said only 10% of people were coming from more than 50 miles away. If you're not coming from more than 50 miles away, you're not staying in a hotel.
She's got 30%, that's what she said.
Yeah,
I think that's also not the definition of tourism when it's
it's 50
less
miles.
than 50
Well,
miles.
and yeah, what is she saying outside the local, what is the local area to her? Is it this county or is it like
Because there are a lot of people coming
Portland
from
and
Kentucky.
Bethpage?
Like there's a
I
bunch
mean,
of people
Scottsville is Portland,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Right, it's
So-
Portland.
So Franklin, Kentucky, Bowling Green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, I would like to say, get on track to maybe bring that down a little bit and say, okay, I'll give you 8,000, but I'll spend $1,000 on tourism
Yeah.
marketing for you.
Well, here's what I would recommend on this one. I would say we need some additional information before we can approve your request.
Yeah.
And then the additional information you want is when she says that you want to see the evidence of where these people were coming from to get to that 30% and what she's using the incremental dollars for outside of what she gave last year, because there is literally no change in her projected attendance from last year or the year before. I would just ask her for that,
Right.
those pieces of information before you approve anything.
I had actually had a meeting with her and I kind of talked to her about like what kind of marketing she does, and it's like billboards in Nashville. And I'm like, I am 22 years old. I don't know about anybody else, but I have never called anything on a billboard in my entire life or known anybody.
I guess I would just ask this question. The Strawberry Festival has been going on for how many decades?
It's like the 80s. We're like 85th or
83
86th.
years.
If you stopped advertising altogether for 1 year,
Probably have the same amount.
that's what I'm saying.
Right. And so that's where I would like to, cut that a little bit and then take some of those extra dollars.
If you were to do part of it, you would probably actually make a bigger impact for their celebration.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's because these places want me to pay for their space.
Like, did she put anything in here?
She did put an ad in there.
How much did that cost her?
You did.
Magazine advertisements,
Yes.
$13.85. Radio, television,
Where is she advertising digitally?
See, and that was a conversation I had with her. Is I said because I had this conversation with her. I wanted to, and I said to her, I was like, we could do some of this marketing for you, you know, I'm not sure that I'm gonna be able to give you the same amount of money. And what I said is, I was like, we can do Google ads where if somebody looks up the word strawberry, you're gonna pop up, you know? She's like, well, I don't click on those. And I'm like,
Nobody's asking you what you
But it
do.
comes
Yeah.
up and then it's in your mind.
exactly, you know? And so that's the thing. Seeing stuff all over the place is what needs to be happening.
Right.
They need to see it on their phone. They need to see it on their web browser. They need to see it, and then they see it on a billboard. But
Yeah, I don't think she understands who our target market is.
And
Well-
radio is, my guess is that's mostly on the Portland radio stations.
Then that's all local. And
Yeah.
they already know.
Right.
so for me,
There is a sign
Every time
on
they-
that corner.
Every time they stop,
Year round.
every time they stop by the gazebo with the big strawberries
Yeah.
on it.
yeah,
Well, they're
And-
spending $7,600 on printed materials, printing and postage.
Mhm.
What are they mailing out?
That's what I was
Okay,
wondering.
she says
And who are
here,
they mailing it to?
this is the largest event in Sumner County. I would question that because Main
It's only
Street Festival
50,000
brings a whole lot of
It's
people.
not that big.
It brings in more people from outside the county than any other event. I would question that. I guess if she's trying to people from Kentucky, maybe. Last year, we recorded people visiting from 36 states.
How did she record that?
so
Because that's
they
not
had a
accurate.
map where you would plug a pin, and I believe it said, "Where are you from?" Now,
Yes, I
But
put
it'd
my
be like,
pin on that
where
map.
you
I
from,
grew up
where
in
you
Colorado.
born?
so I live in
Exactly.
Colorado, but I
Exactly.
don't live in
that's
that
exactly what I said.
And how many children did it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because-
Oh, I would be from Alaska.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
we're-
from Iceland.
Do they sell beer at this festival?
Yes.
They do.
Yeah, they
That
serve
could
alcohol.
also
Yeah.
change the metrics.
That's
Sometimes
not,
when they-
that's not a very effective measurement.
Yeah, no, I'm right there. I'm right there with you on that because that is,
Maybe down there in the Irish.
but I just thought that yeah, I'll put it right next to hatchbacks.
Yeah.
Where you from? But
Yeah.
I just thought she doesn't have the budget to give me real data, and so that's what makes this hard is because she's going on a pin of where are you from? Well, someone who lives in Tennessee now might put they're from Alabama. I don't know.
Well, it says in here they have an app that they're using for activities and vendors.
I think that they have a vendor app, well, or a festival map or a chamber app. But my thing is too, is they are making so much money off their vendors. Their vendor spaces sell out.
Correct.
Yeah.
They sell out within a week.
The
So
Irish festival should be doing that too.
it absolutely
Keep
should.
that in
I'm
your,
right there
keep
with
that
you.
in your hat.
I'm right there with you. But
How much does it cost to have a booth there?
at the Strawberry
Strawberry
Festival, like 100 and probably 160, 100.
A day? Because isn't this a
For the
weekend?
weekend.
Yeah, for the weekend.
Okay.
No, it's just a one-day event. I mean, the
Well,
festival
they have-
itself is one day.
Yeah, the festival's on a Saturday, and then they have like a
But I
concert.
went on a Friday night before and it was,
Was it a concert?
there was no concert, but all of the booths were set up. I mean,
Yeah.
they have
I
the
mean,
vendors
I
there
would
all
argue
weekend.
that the Highway 52 yard sale brings in more visitors than Strawberry.
Yeah, it's a Strawberry Jam concert or something.
I don't even know where Highway 52 is. If it has
It's
a
in
name,
Portland.
it's
It's-
great.
that's
Oh,
the-
yes,
it's
now
the
I do
name
know
of
where it is. Okay.
Portland to White House?
I'm not good with numbers.
Oh,
I
no, it
finally
goes-
know
Oh,
30.
the other way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I finally know 3176 real well. I've been on 52.
But I think my overall thing is I would like to plug more money into marketing because then those ads are going to come from us. So then we're getting brand recognition.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we're also promoting these events. I don't like paying for your stage, that's great. Charge more for your vendors.
Would you feel comfortable with a percentage and just say we've changed our formula this year, so we're going to take 25% of what we give you and spend that on marketing?
I think that that's great.
Or do you like 40% for marketing and 60 to your, because also this cuts down on the work on your staff.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I think,
Because this keeps y'all from physically being at the event
yeah,
and makes your job more,
Mhm.
Marketing.
doing what we're supposed to do instead of being a cash.
and that's an
Right, but
economy
you-
of time.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing, right? This is where you start coming up with how you fund data and analytics, right? Because you're like, oh well, a portion of this fee is marketing, and a portion of it is going to collect data that we can provide to you.
I was gonna
on
say
your
that's a
events.
value to them.
I think that's excellent. I
Because
think
they
that's
know
absolutely
if you can make if you can bring more people in, that makes
Broaden
them
the
more
reach.
money, because a band sells merch.
Yeah.
All of
And
that.
that's the thing, they want me to pay for their things, but they don't understand what the power of what we could do
Well, I
with
think,
taking that money away.
so as this evolves and on a website where they can look at this, then you have this information here. Here is your window, your application window. We take applications from X date to X date.
Yeah.
Here are the things that we are looking for, and here's a new service that we offer you. And, you know,
Yeah.
we are going to provide marketing. We are gonna, market research for
And we
you
will
for
give
your
you
events.
research.
And all of those things, and they're like, what?
Yeah.
But that's all there. And obviously you're gonna talk about it, but
Yeah.
then as they're going through this process, then they can also look at, you know, they can see it and they can be
I think-
digesting
I
that.
think it's an excellent idea, because I think we've become kind of an ATM, and it's just like, jing.
Mhm.
And it drives me crazy, because I am very marketing focused, and then I see some of the marketing that some of these events are doing, and I'm like, yikes, okay. The purpose of these sponsorships are to be for marketing, and they're not being used for that purpose, and it needs to be.
And you don't know what they do with the
And
money.
could you answer, I don't know if this can be the case or not, but
It's hard.
I'm not sure that people
Comment,
understand that
when you're talking about doing the
it's
marketing,
supposed to be used for marketing,
when you're
because
doing
for
digital
Greater Gallatin,
marketing,
they offset the
how do you
price, I mean, the
target
cost
your audience?
of the festivals, and
kind
then
of
that
what we
ends up
do is
being
we
revenue
place
for
it-
them, is that
We play
correct?
with it all the time, so we'll place it
The money that comes from
places that we know
tourism.
people are visiting Sumner County from, so we'll maybe
Yes,
place it in
but they
Northern
do know
Georgia,
that they're supposed
you know,
to advertise
Southern Kentucky,
outside of
and
Sumner
then if it's
County.
not doing well in this area,
They do
we'll
know
move
there's
it
certain
and try
parameters
to-
that probably have
So
to
if
be
you're doing it,
reminded
like,
of
say you're
them.
targeting, so how would you target like Facebook, because that came up?
Facebook, yeah.
Oh.
So right now with Facebook, we're kind of just testing, like we just did we put it in Georgia, Alabama, and Illinois. Alabama did great, so now we're taking it a little bit out of here, now shifting it here, you know, kind of see where, because a lot of it without research it is, you know, trial and error, so when we're placing it somewhere and it's not doing
And
well, it's
this
like,
way, absolutely.
let's pull it from there, it's doing well here, let's put more here.
So how do you know, like, you've targeted Alabama? How within Facebook is it targeting
Right.
Alabama? Is it
Yeah.
based on their profile, or is it based on their
So we pick
internet
interests.
data?
So we
Or
pick
whatever.
certain interests of people, so let's say for the Irish Festival, we use like, they like craft beer. These people like Irish music, or these people like Johnny Cash, or these people, you know, that kind of thing. So then it's putting those around people in that area
So
who
it's not necessarily, but then how do you focus it that it's only people in Alabama?
so,
You can do it by zip code.
yeah,
But,
but I can place it,
but I don't think I have my zip code in Facebook.
your Facebook knows.
They
I
know where
mean,
you're from. They know everything.
Yeah.
They know what
Except I masked my,
They know what you had for
my
breakfast this
internet
morning.
location.
Well-
I masked my internet
well-
location. That's kind of what I'm getting at, is that they don't know where I am.
Right,
They think I'm in Georgia
right,
because we
Well-
mask.
right. Well, and that's something I can't fight.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure
Yeah,
out,
But
the-
most people don't really,
most people aren't as like paranoid as me.
no, and most people don't know how. And our target audience, I would say probably, you know, our target audience is like 50, 60, like on a lot of some of these things, late 40s, things like that. So, you know.
They're
I
like,
still fall in that range.
they're like the voter rolls. I finally saw a knocking
I
list,
checked
and
my
it was
profile
the
one time
people
just to
that.
see what I put in there when I signed up for Facebook 1,000 years ago. But it had things like I'm interested in history and genealogy and religion and you know, all these different things I was interested in, and so I get targeted Facebook ads from, you know, for those different things, you know, or you know, whatever.
You
it is
don't have
that
to
I'm
put it
down.
as a profile, you click one time and they got you.
Yeah.
But can we get, I'm sorry, I know, because we've got
Yeah,
people.
gotta go to.
Do you want us to help you deal with this from the
So,
City of Hendersonville
I did
Arts
get that one,
Festival?
so I had originally, I talked with Hendersonville Parks and, you know, she was.
Is this the Arts Council Festival, or is it just, so it's with Jasmine or Jasmina or whatever her name
The
is?
woman who I've been in contact with is Renee Shepherd. I don't know.
Okay,
But she had contacted me and said that, you know, this is something they were trying to do. I think it's a weekend event.
Since it's a first time event.
Yes.
So you don't know any, you don't have any idea what they're gonna bring in or
And we
anything?
we told them we'll give them 5 and they want 10.
Yes. I think she had asked me for like 20 or something like that.
I say we stick with the 5 we committed with
And then see how it goes.
offer to do some.
And we had, so what I had done with her is that I have already told her we would do some marketing.
Yeah, and there's your 60/40,
Yeah, exactly. So, she.
or your 75/25, or however.
I was gonna say, I might be under the wrong impression. I know we have a heritage marketing grant, but I don't think that these sponsorships have in the past ever been designated for marketing. I was just talking to Angela, and I think what they do is, for instance, downtown Gallatin, they get sponsors, and what that does is that helps offset the cost
Correct.
of the event, and then Greater Gallatin makes revenue, generates revenue for them.
It does, but we know, because we've discussed in the board meetings, that our advertisement, money that we get from tourism should go to advertisement
That's for the-
outside of the county.
That's for the heritage marketing grant. That is not the same as a sponsorship. It's completely different.
Okay.
And see, I think that the sponsorships have always been, well, if this event is gonna bring people to town, then we're gonna consider giving you X amount. I don't think it's ever been stipulated that it's for marketing. So it could just be an opportunity to re-educate everyone.
That's what I was gonna say. A lot of people don't understand, so.
It's not even my understanding.
No,
Mhm.
but
That's what it is.
I think that that's, like,
How
we
much-
want it to be a good festival, so, like, I don't mind getting a little bit of money to make the festival
How
better.
much money do you get from this heritage marketing grant a year?
Do we give out?
Get?
We don't get
We
any.
don't get,
Oh.
we give it.
And
Oh,
it's all for marketing, but that is
oh, heritage marketing.
completely separate and different than what the
Okay, that's what I
sponsorships
was
are for.
looking at.
The sponsorships are for, my understanding is to offset the cost of the event,
But,
if it brings visitors to
And I
town.
get that, and I do.
but I
get
think a
that.
lot of these aren't proving their value, and that's why I think
That's,
that's.
that
Wanting to
What you're saying
upsell.
is really-
I think we just need to decide, when we're giving an organization money for something, do we care what they use that money for? The answer should be yes, and we need to say, if you're using it for this, this, or this, then yeah, we will, we'll consider it. If you're using it just to offset, so you don't have to spend extra
Or so
money,
you
even
have
though you
right.
have extra money,
Right.
then
Like, they're
stop being
saying, like,
dumb. Like this question here, like this whole thing, I'm like, we're asking for more money because we think you have more money. I mean, that's literally this email.
Hotel tax went up, so we want to pay people more.
You know you got the money.
Yeah,
and that's why.
we want more money because we know we think you have some more money, and that's why we're asking for more money. Will you please give it to us? Like,
So you're going to,
really?
well, we can't make a decision here, so you have to make it.
Yeah, I think going on a recommendation basis here is like probably.
Well, and I think this is a perfect opportunity as we revamp this and kind of.
And you don't have to give them, oh, you committed the 5,000,
Yes.
okay.
So I committed to 5,000 when I think she had asked me for 20.
And that's one that, if you can get any data from, call them back and ask them if you can badge their stuff with a QR code.
Yeah.
Like, how much would that
Mhm.
cost to put a QR code? It's an art festival. And ask them if you can put one that says Sumner County Tourism in a little thing at every booth.
Yeah,
And ask so that people can do that, yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Before I leave, do we have a booth at the Strawberry Festival? Have we thought about
Well,
that?
we're not a sponsor.
Okay, well, let me say this, right? We should, on anything that we give money to, we should just have a caveat that we have the right to reserve a space for a booth at any activity we're funding
Yeah.
as part of that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Then we can choose to do it or not, right?
Yeah.
All in favor for an adjournment?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
We're not voting on anything, but I agree.
So, Jennifer Mitchell and